Hey there, Titans, and welcome back to another Titan Academy video. Today we'll be talking about push submissions in Titan Web. First, we'll discuss the difference between submission actions and push submissions. Next, we'll take a look at the submissions logs and see how to use those. And finally, we'll learn how to resubmit data to Salesforce from your submissions. Let's get started. So the first thing we want to take a look at is what are submissions and what are the difference between submission actions and push submissions. So submission actions are a nice feature in which we can save draft data to Salesforce, data that we're not ready to actually push to objects in Salesforce. We can save them in the Titan package in a very consolidated way within a JSON file, and then bring that data back to your project so that your end user can continue where they left off. Now, in order to do that, you'll head over to your button or whatever action you might like, and you'll look for submissions here. And we have a video explaining on how exactly to use these type of submissions to essentially create drafts for your projects. Today, we'll be focusing on push submissions, and the purpose of a push submission is entirely different. So let's take a look at where to find our push submissions. We'll head over to our Salesforce integration, our push integration. In this case, I'm just creating a contact. And under Advanced, you'll find Save to My Submissions. These type of submissions are essentially a backup of the data that you're already pushing to Salesforce. So for example, here, I'm trying to create a contact. But if for some reason there's some issue with that contact that I created, or the data doesn't end up in Salesforce as I wanted, I can create some sort of backup by saving the data again in Titan's package in the My Submission object. And that way, I'll never miss any kind of data. It doesn't matter how my end user might mess up. I'll still see everything that they tried to push to Salesforce. So in order to do this, again, you'll head over to your push, you'll tick Save to My Submissions, and let's take a look at what happens when we do that. So I've got this push that will create a contact based on these fields. Let's go ahead and preview that. And we'll do Kenny Holland, some email, and we'll go ahead and submit that. Now, first I want to take a look at our integration logs just to see what happened when we did that. So the time right now is 8:11, and I can see that a contact was created in Salesforce, but in addition to that, a record for the My Submission object was created, as well as a content version, which is the JSON that holds my data from this submission. So yes, I've created a contact, but I've also backed up that data with a record in Salesforce and a JSON file associated with that record that holds all my data. Now let's head over to the My Submissions over here, and we can see that here we have a log of all of these submissions that we've made. So we can see most recently we've created this contact, and if we take a look at this, we can actually see the data that was pushed to the contact and ended up in our submissions. All right, now as you can see, we've got all the data here that we just pushed to Salesforce, and that's great. And so we can actually see all the different submissions that we've ever pushed. And here we'll be able to actually view the logs of that particular submission. So I can see here that the submission record was created, the content version was created. I can delete submissions, and I, of course, can resubmit submissions. Now, before we resubmit submissions, let's take a look at some of the filter options we have. We can take a look at all the submissions that have to do with a particular object in Salesforce. In this case, all of mine have to do with contact. We can also filter by status, whether that be our failed submissions or our successful submissions. We can filter by date, and we can reset our filters entirely. All right, now let's take a look at how we can resubmit submissions. And in order to do so, let's try to fail a integration to Salesforce. So let's go ahead and preview. And what I'll do here is I'll try to add a contact that does not have a last name. So let's say Lucy C, and we leave out a last name. We'll put some email in here. So this will fail in terms of the Salesforce integration. So if we head over to our Salesforce integrations, we can see that this contact did not get created because it's missing a field. But what did happen is that I did create a submission in Salesforce. And as a result, I can actually edit this submission, add in a last name, and say maybe they meant for this to be their last name, for example. And now I can save that, resubmit. And now that the data has been resubmitted successfully, I've actually been able to create that new contact in Salesforce. And so again, this will help prevent any kind of missing data because of user errors or validations on the Salesforce side that might be blocking your user from creating the data as they want. And this way you can always have a backup, come here, fix that data, and resubmit it. Now, of course, you can also resubmit several at a time or delete several at a time. And so you have a lot of flexibility, a lot of options here, and this can be a really powerful tool. And that's how it's done.